G'day and welcome to Animal Tales with Tim Faulkner. That's me, and today I am talking Komodo dragons. Komodo dragons are the largest lizards on Earth. There used to be some prehistoric species that were actually bigger. One of them found in Australia called Megalodon. But nowadays, limited to a couple of islands just up there in Southeast Asia, are Komodo dragons. Komodo dragons are living, walking dinosaurs. They have been on Earth relatively unchanged for tens of millions of years. Now, they can grow over 3 meters in length. They can weigh up to a couple of 100 kilos. The dragons themselves are armor-plated. The whole body is full of thick scales. Now, if we start from the head, they have a few interesting features. Now, one is that Komodo dragons are venomous. It's very different than a venomous snake, which delivers its venom through fangs. Now, Komodos have really primitive venom glands inside their mouth, and it secretes venom in and it mixes with their saliva. So when Komodo dragons actually bite a buffalo or a deer, some prey, two things happen. They sustain a wound, and that wound is really bad. And the Komodo dragon has an extensive amount of bacteria in its mouth, and that bacteria begins to cause an infection. Now, at the same time, that really mild and primitive venom is also weakening the prey's immune system, and the prey can't fight off the bacterial infection. Look at their eyes. Now, I love looking at Komodos because there is a level of intelligence. They can problem solve, they can rationalize. Just look at that eye. Their vision is spectacular, and you can see that there is a lot going on in their mind. Now, if we move to the back of the neck, you can see their ear. They have very reasonable hearing, but they don't make vocalizations. A little bit of hissing, but they don't really have a common language of any type. Now, if we go down along the body, you have a look how thick and heavy set that body is, covered with thick scales. Now, their arms, they're quite mobile. Now, young Komodo dragons actually live up in the trees, and one of their greatest predators is adult, full-grown Komodo dragons. They will eat young Komodos. So the young live up in the trees, and when you're a big Komodo, you live on the ground. Now, they're very heavy, and those legs are so muscly. Now, you watch when the dragons move, it's very economical, it's very efficient. They do that to save energy. But you have a look at that incredibly strong, long tail. Every part of the body moves together in a really efficient means of getting around. Komodo dragons are found in Southeast Asia and only on a couple of smallish islands. One of them is the Komodo Islands, where their name comes from. And these islands aren't like you might think. They're not a tropical paradise. They're mostly grassland and savanna. Now, tens of thousands of years ago, on those islands, you also had pygmy elephants and different species of prey that Komodo used to hunt, and they're now gone. But what's there is buffalo and deer. And so in that Komodo environment, you've got grassy plains with some tropical savanna and woodland and deep gullies, big hills, and it's all fringed by the ocean. Now, adult Komodo dragons, they don't really take shelter from predators. Once they're that big, they have free range of the islands, but they do still have to shelter from the heat. So that's when you'll get them down in the shaded gullies, trying to find the cool spots throughout the day. Juvenile Komodo dragons are far more arboreal. It means they live up in the trees. They can take shelter up there from their predators, larger Komodo dragons. Now, Komodo dragons are varanids. Varanids typically are pretty solitary. They might live in loose social groups, but they don't have any really strong family bonds or anything like this, inclusive of their reproduction. Now, when a male and female Komodo dragon mate, that's the last thing that dad has to do with the young. Now, mum carries those eggs inside her, and at the right time, she'll dig a hole, a burrow, and she'll lay those eggs in that nest. She fills it back in with sand, and that's actually mum's job done too. She doesn't see those hatchlings when they will hatch somewhere between 60 and 100 days later. Komodo dragons are carnivorous. They are meat eaters, and their hunting strategy is extraordinary. So they will opportunistically scavenge anything they can, maybe a fish that's washed up on the beach or an animal that's died naturally. But they also hunt. Now, like so many animals, swim really well. Now, they don't use their legs so much, they fold them back, and that big tail is where all the power comes from. And historically, they've swum from islands to islands. Komodo Islands are surrounded by the ocean. but it's salt water and you can't drink it. And in actual fact, there's very little water availability for the dragons on the island. Now, like a lot of species, they conserve water really well. They stay cool through the hot parts of the day. They get moisture from their prey. Now, they do drink, but they can go without water for a lot longer than a human. Komodo dragons are endangered. Their population faces a number of threats, from habitat loss to illegal poaching, and also their food availability. We've got humans that hunt deer and buffalo, the same things that the dragons are eating. If their food runs out, that's a problem for the lizards. Komodo dragons are megafauna. Now, there was so much more megafauna in the world 50,000 years ago, but today we still have things like elephants and rhinos and lions and Komodo dragons. We need to preserve them for that reason. Now, their benefits to humans are that we still have megafauna on Earth, living, walking dinosaurs. For your homework today, for the little kids, I'd like 2 or 3 sentences on some facts that you learnt from me. For the bigger kids, I'd like a page. As many facts as you can remember that I've talked about, please send them back to me. And lastly, for a bit of fun, can you tell me, research and tell me, how many eggs can a female Komodo dragon lay in one clutch? That's your homework for today. See you next time. Thanks for watching, everyone. Now, the keepers and I are looking after all of our animals and our families, but we all have a bit of extra time at the moment, like you probably do too. So this is a great distraction for us, and hopefully you. If you like what you've seen or want to show me your homework, just put it into the comments. This is what I do, connecting people with nature, and that can't stop. I'll see you next time.
Done.